And like one day I woke up, I was sitting in my room and I was like, I think I'm a freaking loser. And I thought about all the people I was spending time with that are 30, 40, 50, can't pay their bills. I just like out of nowhere, I had this sickening feeling in my heart. Like, what if I got to that age?
What did you notice in the car space with the grind? Like, how did you kind of separate yourself from that icky stigma?
And then one day a manager approached me and he's like, hey, you're going to get fired if you don't start selling. You're a loser. You're not going to make it in sales. But that was another like shifting moment for me because my first response was, I'm going to fucking prove you wrong. And that next month I made 10K, sold 25 cars, the most cars in the dealership. And like, that was the switch for me. I kind of hit a rock bottom moment when I wrecked. I totaled 2 cars back to back, like almost killed myself. It was like a crazy wreck. After that, I was like, dude, I got to like start jumping off. Just, dude, if you're like 25 to 35, like you typically, my type of people at least, they make 6 figures. They have kids, or maybe, but have a marriage or a relationship. And like that comes, like that whole phase of life has its own set of problems, you know?
What are some of the most common ones you see?
Like I said, like the glass ceiling, definitely one of them. I just think like when you're in that age group, you have a lot, like the dynamic changes from when you're like 18 to 24. You know, you have way more responsibility, you know, kind of, you feel like you're almost on an island, you know, if you're not surrounded by the right people. So just different things like that, dude. And, you know, that's the type of people I'm trying to make an impact on, you know?
Yeah, I think it's interesting when some of the folks who have wandered into sales, and you just work with sales guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, if you're like 25 to 35, you've probably either gotten committed into marriage and had kids and settled down a bit where you're comfortable, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? But there's probably that sedentary thing that kind of seeps in, unless you're just firing in all cylinders, and then in which case, then props to you. But for those who are kind of like, maybe the train has left the station a little bit and they need someone to come shake them up.
Exactly.
They are the ones who they've made it this far while also juggling being a parent or being a husband or whatever.
Yeah.
And they still have that potential. And I do find a lot of passion in coming in and shaking those guys too.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, even though we jumped right into that conversation, I'd love to understand a little bit about you. I know you mentioned you've told your origin story here and there, but maybe we can get the TLDR version, and then we can start to unpack the current state of the industry and what you're up to and what you're trying to solve, and, you know, how you're thinking about things.
Let's do it, man. So 26, live out here in old Scottsdale, Arizona.
Scottsdale, baby.
You know, stomping grounds. But for me, dude, I grew up, you know, around a lot of mediocrity. Like everybody in my close circle drank, did drugs. Parents divorced at a really young age.
Did you grow up here?
In Illinois, Southern Illinois, middle of nowhere, you know? But being around that, like, I just never had any high achievers around me that were planting the proper belief set into me. Right.
Oof.
So I kind of grew up with that mindset of like, no idea of the future. You know, people ask like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm like, I don't know, you know?
Alive.
Exactly. But I was always an obsessive person. So like at a young age, I was very passionate about basketball. That was like the first thing I found that I was like, I really like this because this is something I can play, that I have control over, that I can win.
I can tell you got a mid-range jumper, man.
Dude, 3-pointer all day,
Let's go.
baby. Curry was like my idol, dude. You know, he's the mentor. But so I didn't hit puberty till later. So I was like super short as a kid. I was like 5'3" in like 8th grade.
Still
so
balling
like,
though.
Balling out of control, dude. But I worked my way up, and then hit a growth spurt, obviously. And then, you know, high school is when I really started taking basketball seriously. And that was like my getaway. And all throughout high school, D's and F's in school, but they passed me because they need me on the team, right? And then when I graduated, I go to play Division II basketball. I had a scholarship. But by that time I was like 16, you know, and I'd started drinking, getting into the party lifestyle, doing drugs. And what started out as like just kind of having some fun, like it quickly became like, you know, all the time. Right. So by the time I got to college, I was like an obsessive drinker, drugs, you know, all the
drugs, like smoking weed,
like cocaine, you know, a little bit of other stuff here.
Molly, little X pill.
All of it, dude. Yeah, all of it. And then eventually, like my first couple months, even in Division II basketball, I dropped out because I was like, I'm just gonna go like do my like work a 9 to 5. Like screw this, I'm not gonna go to the NBA. So
curious,
yeah.
Whenever you were in basketball, whether it was high school and D2, Were there some coaches that molded you, that shaped your beliefs more than the good old Illinois, good for nothing mindset? Like, were there some pivotal people there that were dropping some hints towards you, and then you got caught up in the college thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I went to a very small high school. There was like 40, 50 people in my graduating class, right? I'm talking like BFE, you know what I'm saying?
But, 50
but
people is small, bro.
Yeah, super small school. But I had 2 coaches.
Everybody has the same girlfriend.
Exactly. I had 2 coaches, dude, that really molded me. Yeah, and actually it's kind of cool. So just this past year, I started donating to their charity, Coaches versus Cancer.
That's good.
And like that was like a surreal moment for me, because that same coach, he was the one who kind of helped me through a lot of things I went through. It's like being able to go back and like write a check for their charity every year is like super cool, right? That's like one of the things that drives me. But yeah, dude. So dropped out for 3 to 4 years, just fucked off, honestly. Like worked 9 to 5 jobs, pushed carts at Walmart, worked at McDonald's, had all the best jobs.
You actually worked at McDonald's?
I really did. Yeah.
There we go. And this is from age what?
Now we're talking like age 17 to 21.
Okay.
And then like I kind of hit a rock bottom moment when I totaled 2 cars back to back. One of them I like almost killed myself. It was like a crazy wreck. But after that, I was like, dude, I got to like start to turn my life around. So, I had listened to tapes on like motivational videos on YouTube back when I played sports, and I'd start throwing those on, and it just started to like put the right beliefs into me. And like one day I woke up, I was sitting in my room, and I was like, I think I'm a freaking loser. Like I just started thinking about my future for the first time ever. Like actually think like 5-10 years from now, who do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about all the people I was spending time with that are 30, 40, 50 that are at the bar every night, that can't pay their bills and aren't a good example to
Still in the town.
And like, I just like out of nowhere, I had this sickening feeling in my heart. Like, what if I got to that age and I felt that way? I was that person. And I was like, not another day. And like, that was like, I don't know what it was. It was all of a sudden, like I gained awareness for the first time, and I started think long-term. So then I started like working out, taking better care of myself. I'd let myself get way out of shape, fix that. And then got into car sales, right? Just kind of by accident. I was at a bar one night, and I was with a friend of mine, and he goes, yo, I just started selling cars. My manager's over here at the bar. So I walked up to him, shook his hand. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a job. Listen, I got a terrible background. I freaking wreck cars. I don't even have a driver's license right now, but I would love to sell for you. And he's like, takes a shot, and he goes, you got a driver's license? And I was like, yeah, I'll get it back. And he's like, okay, you're hired, And I was like, dope. So, yeah, dude, that started it. And I sold cars for 2 years. First year was cool. I scaled. Like I got in for the first 6 months, was getting my ass kicked. And then one day a manager approached me, and he's like, hey, you're going to get fired if you don't start selling. Like, you're a loser. You're not going to make it in sales. It's not for you. And like, that was another like shifting moment for me, because I was like, my first response was, I'm going to fucking prove you wrong. Right. So yeah,
real quick. So you made it into car sales.
Mm-hmm.
You're 6 months in, you're not doing well, and you get that, hey, you're about to get let go moment.
Exactly.
But before that, you had the moment where you totaled 2 cars and you started listening to motivational tapes. Maybe you had some from back in the basketball season, but who were some of those early mentors? Because for me, it was like Jordan Peterson, Patrick Bet-David, just like Valuetainment, like all these YouTube channels where I would just listen to it on autopilot, man.
Yeah.
And I also resonate with that a lot. I was doing the same exact thing, doing drugs, selling drugs, just complete moron behavior.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew intuitively that there was no hope or future for this, but I wasn't aware yet. And then slowly and surely I started recognizing that there was a big gap between who I could be and who I was. And I would feel this pang of anxiety. I remember specifically like being in a house party one night, like 3 a.m. I'm like coked out of my mind. Like I'm just laying on the bed, like, like just complete, like, what are you doing, bro? And there's this pang of anxiety in my soul that was just ringing like a big bell. Ding, ding, ding. You are not where you're supposed to be, dude. And if you don't get up, like nobody's coming to save you.
Exactly, dude.
And you better turn this thing around. Who was it for you that you were soaking in as far as like online mentors and like digital mentors?
So first of all, I resonate with that so hard, because that was kind of how it worked out for me. Was it started out as just fun, and I'm drinking, and we're doing whatever, but pretty soon it like started to become more. It started to induce anxiety more than it was fun, because I started to think about who I could be, and it would start to like that's just an internal notification that you're not who you're supposed to be.
That's your conscience. That's God.
Exactly. But for me, dude, a big mentor actually was Jim Rohn. Dude, so you know, I don't typically talk about this, but like before I got into car sales, I did try insurance sales door to door for a while. I did that for like 3 to 6 months. And it was cool, but it was like traveling every week and shit. But the cool part was one of my managers was like, "Hey, throw on Jim Rohn." So I'd like listen to those while I drive around.
Work on
And
you more than you work on your job.
dude, those were so soothing. I'd throw those on middle of winter. I'm driving around selling door to door, just like, man, like I got to get something to shake. And like I'd listen to his voice to just soothe me. Like it was so good. Grant Cardone too, by the way.
Sure.
Like, dude, killer. It's so funny because man, like everybody has their own taste and personalities, but like just seeing someone who's like truly unlocked, like it's just inspiring to see. So I loved watching like Grant Cardone's older content when he was doing sales training, just how like bold he was. And I was like, dude, I want to fucking do that. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize like Grant Cardone's not going to resonate with everybody.
Yeah.
But that's the point, right? Like
Yeah,
he knows who he's for and he knows who he's against. And whether you I have opinions on him, but
yeah,
they're irrelevant because he's a fucking billionaire, and so
exactly.
pick your mentors, right? Like it doesn't have to be the same person as someone else, but yeah, Jim Rohn was a classic for me. Throwing on the tapes. So you're soaking all that up and then you do the insurance and then car sales.
Yeah.
So you're 6 months in, you're about to get put on a PIP, you're out of here.
Exactly.
Loser status.
Exactly, dude. And by the way, at that time, I was still drinking, doing drugs. I was still like kind of in the.
There was a glimmer. There's a little
glimmer. And also, by the way, like when I first started selling cars is when I had met my wife. So this was like a little over 5 years ago now.
Wow.
But then that 6 months had gone by, and obviously, like I wasn't selling cars, so we were freaking broke. And I go home one day that day after I have that conversation with the manager, and I'm like, "Hey, I think I might quit." And she's like, "You can't quit. Like, prove his ass wrong." And I'm like, "You're so right." So that night, I kind of started seeking out answers. It's when I kind of discovered the online game and mentors and stuff. I looked up like how to sell more cars on YouTube and spent like 8 hours in a rabbit hole. Just like I was like,
and that's where Grant Cardone came in.
Yeah, I was like, all the fucking answers are right here. Like, what the hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had to overcome every objection and all that stuff, and like I like slowly but surely I went from being somebody who never took studying serious in my life to being obsessed with learning. And that next month I made 10K, sold 25 cars, the most cars in the dealership. And like that was the switch for me. Like that was the time when I went from labeling myself as like I'm not a salesman, I can't do this, to like I'm the fucking man. You know what I'm saying?
What's your wife's name, by the way?
Gia.
Gia. Shout out to Gia, man. She inspired
you. Gia's a real one, dude. We've been together, through it all.
So you had that prove yourself moment,
mm-hmm.
and the switch was flipped.
Yeah.
Right. I think so many people don't have someone else to catch them. Right. I was just reading Ecclesiastes yesterday. I can't remember the exact verse, but it says something like it takes two. And if you have a brother in the field or a partner in the field and they help you out, like pity on the person who doesn't have anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of guys that make it to that snapping point or that quitting point, they don't have anybody to catch them.
Exactly.
So that's awesome that you had that,
dude. Having a strong partner, dude, like having a good partner,
legend,
is key. But yeah, dude. So after that, I got obsessed with sales and mentorship, and for the next year and a half, just steady freaking scaled like 10, 20K a month in car sales. And then about a year and a half later, like it was cool. It's cool when you first start making six figures. He never made that kind of money before, but the in-person sales grind gets pretty tiring after a while, right? So like I was working 60, 80-hour weeks.
Guys, shout out to my car guys. They're in their 60, 80-hour weeks, Saturdays.
Dude, they're
not going anywhere.
Dude, people have their opinions, but car salesmen are grinders, bro. Grinders. So yeah.
I'd like to also make a comment that when people think about scaling your income and car salesmen, like there's a stigma. And normally car salesmen get the bad rap. But if you can really understand how to walk someone through a complex conversation and decision, more so, which is buying a vehicle, and you do that ethically and with integrity,
exactly,
you're helping people, and obviously there's some bozo who wants to charge some grandma 30% interest on some Ford Focus, but did you notice that what did you notice in the car space with the grind? Like, how did you kind of separate yourself from that icky stigma, or was that a thing that you were thinking about at all?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the dealerships I worked at, one of them, I worked at two. The first one was exactly what you're talking about, exactly what you're describing, like, gray area, a lot of gray area and stuff like that. But dude, I tell guys, because I help a lot of guys go from car sales to high ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
And every car salesman who's been in the industry knows there's a lot of fuckery out there in the car
A lot
industry,
of
right?
tomfoolery.
But I explain it the same way as high ticket, right? Because there's just like there's car dealerships ripping people off. There's a lot of high ticket companies that are doing some complete
Gurus,
like side,
scammers, balcony
sideways shit,
boys.
right? Yeah, exactly. The Miami Broadway Boy penthouse. Um, yeah, so that's how I kind of explain it. And yeah, the car industry like can be really, really screwed up. It makes you thick skin, like if there's anything good about it. So like if somebody's like 18, 22, or looking to make the jump to sales for the first time, why not just like get into like the best industry, which is like high ticket sales in my opinion. But if you absolutely wanted to get into car sales, like the one thing you would walk away with is like some thick skin, because like you're
Mm-hmm.
you're going to deal with a lot of shit, because like you're talking to the customer and they want a better deal, but your manager's going to kill you if you go to the desk. So you're like just like the middleman taking the beating, and you got to just like smooth things over. And yeah, it's a racket, dude. It's a racket. But I did that for a year and a half, and then I started to feel like really burnt out. And right around that time, one of the guys I was learning sales from was like put out that he was hiring high ticket closers, and they actually reached out to me, offered me a job, and it required moving to Arizona. And I was still living in Illinois, but I was like, okay, so I could make maybe six figures doing this. And he was like, hey, you can make six figures, you can make seven if you get really good. And I was like, okay. So it's remote. Like I got to move. They want me to be in, come into the office sometimes, but it's remote. I can do it from anywhere, and I can make six figures. I'm like, fuck car sales, let's go. So me and my wife packed up. We moved out here. This was beginning of 2022. And I had no idea that I was at that point I was getting into high ticket sales, but that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And dude, the company I was with, like no systems, no structure, writing the numbers on the whiteboard every day, no CRMs or anything like that. And it was just dial, here's your list, dial the phones, right? And dude, within about 90 days, I was like, I'd replaced my car sales income. I stayed kind of stagnant for about a year, and then like my big breakthrough came at like midway through 2023. Like I really just studied a lot of high ticket sales content. I really kind of figured out what my process was. And that's when I really started to scale, like scaled to making, 50K plus a month. And then, yeah, man, did that for 2 years, and then stepped away about, 4 or 5 months ago to do my own thing. So,
Yeah. So, what do you think it was? Were there a lot of guys making 50K? I
no,
mean,
I was the only salesperson doing that.
right. So, surprisingly, there's not that many people making 50 grand a month. What do you think it was that separated you from those second, third, fourth place guys?
Damn. I mean, you know, that's a common question, but I think it's like a lot of things, right? So like obviously there's like pipeline follow up, understanding that. I sold completely different, right? Like so the company I work for trained car salesmen, right? And a lot of them were car salesmen just like myself. So had a car salesman sell. You want the car? Why not? If I could do this, would you do that? Can we do this? Like just sell, 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 high pressure. So for the first year I sold high ticket, that's how I sold. And by the way, like I scaled my income to 20, 30K a month just doing that because I was brute force. This is not to be discounted. Like in high ticket sales, even if you suck ass, if you're driven, you're going to make money probably, right? If you take enough swings at the bat, you're going to hit a couple times, right? But like I did that for the first year, but then I started to like study like NEPQ, Cole Gordon, like that style of selling. And dude, that was like really when I started to shift. Like once I realized what sales actually is, was when like I had like the paradigm shift. And
Mhm.
and that was pretty much like I think between that and just like the habits, there's so many of them, but it's like just being disciplined, doing your pipeline, doing your follow up, having a routine, just honestly taking the game more seriously than nobody
Yeah,
else.
man.
You
It's
know?
like, I worked at a company for the last couple of years before I broke into fractional management and managing teams as an individual sales rep that had a culture of, hey, we're not doing this friendly thing. We're not doing kumbaya. This is no campfire. We are athletes and we will show up and ball. And if you can't score, then you will get benched
Yeah.
type thing. And luckily I I didn't not score, right? But I think a lot of people, when it comes to getting to this A player level, there's like the guy who's really good, but he's lazy because he's good, right? Like he's good enough to just skirt by and not do the
Exactly.
things, but he's so skilled that he can just do that.
Exactly.
Then there's the guy who is skilled and he's not lazy and he's
Yeah.
disciplined. He does his paperwork, his CRM stuff. He keeps his pipeline up to date. You don't have to follow behind him and see if he sent the email.
Exactly.
That guy's here. And then there's the guy who's like the A+ one, who does all that. He's got the skill set. He's a curious motherfucker. He's always learning.
Yeah.
He does his paperwork. He does his pipeline. And he has his habits, his diet, sleep, exercise, mindset, plus skill set. That's that A level, A player that really goes to 50. You have, like you said, it's more than one thing, right?
Yeah.
You can't just, there's no amount of reframes that are going to get you to $600,000 a year in earnings. It's really like, you're an athlete, and it's different with marketing and, you know, success and finance, you know, back office stuff. These other departments of the business, not to disrespect or discount them because they're super important. They're equally important, but you can kind of show up and have a bad day and still type the email away or check in on those clients. But as a sales rep, if you don't show up, energized, great attitude, ready to go, clear headspace, focused, locked in on the client, you're not going to get the deal done.
So true, dude. It's like, you know, you can hate your life, but if you're the bookkeeper, you can still do your job. You can be cussing out the boss like, this fucking stupid job, but you can still you can still do it right. If you're a salesperson, it doesn't work like that. I tell my students, I'm like, okay, like state is super important, right? So it's like, if you are about to take a call, and I feel like every salesperson has experienced this, but this is like an extreme example. If you're about to take a sales call, right, that you know is huge and like there's a lot riding on the line, and you get a text right before that your grandma died, like you're going to show up way different. But if you get a text that you're getting $100K deposit into your bank account tomorrow, like imagine how you'd show up differently on those two calls, right? Same skill set, same person, completely different results, you know? Because it's like the prospect in the good scenario would be like, what got into you today, dude?
Yeah, man.
And like you should show up like that anyway, right?
Yeah. It's state management is the most important thing. And like if you're back to back taking a bunch of calls and you're in a vehicle where you can make the money, but you're not making the money, you know, I remember when I was in construction sales before I jumped into high ticket, I would just go run house appointments. I would sell roofs and decks.
Yeah.
And I would always have my song, you know, I'd play like Chief Keef Love Sosa or something, get hyped.
That's a banger.
Yeah, and just like go in like ready to crush and ready to help the person, and just get my state up.
Exactly.
You can do box breaths in between the calls, but really like that's why I didn't do this a ton, but a couple things. You can watch your best recordings of your best closes. That's a good way to increase your state.
Yeah.
You can remind yourself that you're actually helping people and think of the last person that you helped, or if you're selling a coaching program, go look at the client success and see the last person you closed and how well they're doing. Conviction is the best thing for me. And like 100%. As I start to take people under my wing with the sales teams that I'm managing, plus anybody that I'm coaching outside of that, it's like this conviction-based thing. Exactly. And I'm a firm believer, unless you believe in what you're selling, you can brute force it for forever, like for as long as you might be able to, but just the biggest rock to solve is get behind something you believe in.
Exactly. Bro, if you had the cure to cancer and it was like $1,000 and your prospect had cancer and you knew it could help them and they were like, well, I don't have the money right now. Would you sit there and be like, okay, cool. Like, okay.
Hell no.
You'd be like, hold on, respectfully, you should reconsider the way you're like thinking about this right now. Right?
Yeah. Where is the money? Let's go find it.
Exactly.
How can we?
Yeah. I tell my students that like, to me, like this is like a concept that I realized really helped me. It's like, okay, there's what I call like the line, right? Not like the straight line like Jordan Belfort, but like there's just this line you got to fall into in sales. And I noticed some people are either too high or too low on the scale. So like there's being too aggressive and then you're just being an asshole, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're too aggressive, you're not going to build any trust. So you won't get the right answers, right? And if you're too nice, you don't have authority. There's like this middle ground, right? Where you're comforting and you're warm, but you're not afraid to challenge your beliefs. And like, to me, that was like the thing that helped me the most, you know, because there's people out there that are too dull and they don't connect enough. But then like for me, I actually had to lower my excitement because it almost made me lose my authority. Right. So like for me, it was less about, you know, becoming more aggressive, becoming more energetic. And it was more about like calming down a little bit and talking less to asking more questions.
Same, dude. And I can already tell we're very similar in that regard because my former boss and mentor, Dickie, he would always tell me it's a lot easier to pull you in, like pull someone in and kind of rein them in versus trying to get them off the couch.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'd rather have the problem of being too uppity, but you can quickly get into a situation where you're having just a coffee shop conversation. It's too friendly.
Exactly.
But you don't want to be the doctor who's just super cold where it's like a fucking prostate exam. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a middle. You got to be in the middle there.
100%, dude. Yeah, no doubt.
So you're cracking 50K months. You did that for a while.
Yeah.
Talk me through the end of that engagement and what made you decide to take the leap, and were there fears, was there doubts, was there imposter syndrome? What happened at the end there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, basically the company I'd been with, I was there for about a little over 3 years, had been a part of the whole process of the growth of that company. Not to say like I did all of it, but like
you were there.
Was just there for the whole growth and like the journey, and had done a lot of cool stuff, worked with a lot of cool people, but just feeling a little bit out of alignment. And
in what way?
Honestly, dude, like just God was kind of like I got baptized earlier this year, and
congrats.
Been getting really connected in my faith. I appreciate that. And dude, I don't know, I just started to feel like I can do more, and like I felt like where I was at, I was making an impact. We were making an impact, but I feel like I could make more of an impact, in a different way. And like the last company I worked for, they offer very like general training to everybody, and like I'm really fascinated by the high ticket and online information space, right? So also at the same time, I would just like start listening to different people online. And I don't know, I got this belief, this new dream planted in my head. And it's like, what if I could build a business? What if I could build a 7-figure a month business? What if I could build a really successful business? And I started to think like, I wonder if I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I could do that, So I decided, dude, to just send it. And here's kind of how I thought about it. I was like, okay, I could leave, start my own thing, walk away from making 600-700 grand a year, which is about what I was making. And I was like, I could fall on my face. It could take me years to get back to this level and whatever. Or I could do what I think I'm going to do and scale really fast, do a lot of cool shit, help a lot of people. And I was like, I'm willing to take my chances. I really don't fucking care. I think my superpower is like, I'm so detached from the external. Like, as long as I'm doing what I'm happy about, like, I'm pretty simple, dude. Like, I work all the time, spend a lot of time with my wife. That's pretty much it. I got a small circle of friends, and that's pretty much it. When I'm most fulfilled is when I feel like I'm growing, and when I'm helping other people. So yeah, dude, I branched out and I left, and I started to think like, where can I make the biggest impact? And for me, it was going from car sales to getting into high ticket sales, and get like the lifestyle change that allowed me to have. Does that make sense?
100%.
Like being able to make more, travel, and all that stuff. I tell anybody who looks at working with me, like, high ticket sales is not fucking easy. Like, please don't get into it because if you think it's gonna be fucking easy, okay? But like, the truth is, if you actually can stick with it long enough to gain the skills, or lock in for 3 to 6 months to learn a new skill set, you can absolutely travel, make a lot of money. And is it a way better lifestyle than car sales? Fucking a million %. I've done both, bro. And I know what they both look like when you're making okay money doing it. And I can tell you which one I prefer.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting, man. One of the reasons why I started having these conversations is because I want to get to the real. I have my own thoughts, right? But
yeah,
I don't want to just yap at the camera. I want to go around to the biggest players in the space and understand what's going on in their minds and how they think about it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that irks me the most is that, and I've said this probably on every episode now, high ticket sales is like the new biz op, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the new thing on the block. It's the new sexy
exactly.
business model, whatever. And I can't say anything against that, because if someone were to come to me and ask me how to get their life together and they were anything like me, I would say, well, hey, I don't really want to give you advice per se, because I don't know who you are specifically. But what worked for me was breaking into sales and then getting into remote sales. And, pay based on performance. If you're willing to cut your teeth and do the thing, then this is where you can go. And look at my life. And I was able to go from nobody, with the alarm bell going off to now traveling the world, bunch of different countries, multi six figures, etc. So I would give someone that advice, break into high ticket sales. But the problem is the expectation setting.
Exactly.
They think it's going to be easy, 2 calls a day, 20 grand a month. No, it's not. And if anybody has gaslit you into believing that, I want to let you know you're not insane.
Yeah.
That is completely bullshit. So I think it's proper expectation setting while still letting people know about this type of opportunity.
100% agree. 100% agree. Yeah, I mean, expectations are everything, right? So
the cool part about high ticket though, and I'm glad that you share that fascination, is I really like selling coaching.
I'm the same way.
Because I invest into coaches. And yeah, you can I follow this guy Baller Busters or whatever his name is. He's so funny, man. And they what's the other one? CoffeeZilla. And they bust all these gurus that are like complete shammers.
Exactly.
But that is like way over here on the spectrum. And there's another end of the spectrum where everything is legit, and that's not the case, right? Like,
exactly.
There's a lot of shysters. So you can't be naive. And I was naive when I got into the space, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? Listened to the wrong mentors, invested in the wrong programs, probably burned a couple, 8, 10, 12,000 on the wrong people.
Yeah.
But I love selling coaching because I believe in humans.
Exactly.
And I want to help them make that A to B transformation. Whether it's I'm working 9 to 5 and I want to start a business, I'm working in car sales, but I want to go into remote sales. I'm at this shitty job. Like the offer that I manage right now is a career coaching offer. So we help people in the tech space, product managers, land bigger jobs, make more money, more impact. And it's just like, I'm the person that holds the keys to the Ferrari that's going to get them there twice as fast.
Yeah.
And that is so fulfilling to me.
I love that, dude. Yeah. I feel the same way. I tell my students, it's like, okay, when you sell cars, you're having a 2 to 4 hour sales cycle. Like, that's typically how long it takes to get a car sale. But only for about 20 minutes of that entire period of time are you actually having negotiating, and are you actually like trying to influence the psychology of a client, right? Now, don't get me wrong that the whole process you're selling technically, but there's nothing as impactful as high ticket sales.
Yeah.
Where it's like a 45-minute window of just like, an absolute just like art show, right? Like you just do your thing. And I love that. And like, also it's like you're dealing with someone who's lived for 35, 45, however old they are, that many years, and you're trying to help them shift their beliefs in like 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, like you can probably relate to this. Like the best clients I've ever had, the ones that to this day, even when I'm no longer with the company I was with, like that still call me up and go, your conversation with me changed my life. Like if we didn't have that conversation, I wouldn't have changed my life, are the ones that always had the fear objections. Yep. The ones that were always a little bit tough to close. They could see the light and they knew it. I could feel that they had that belief deep down. No matter like,
you just got to shake them.
No matter how many objections they gave me, I knew that there was a part of them that could see this like working out, see that be,
Well, yeah. And it's like the question you posed at the beginning was like, who do I want to be?
Yeah.
And I asked myself that question a lot in the beginning. And then I started to kind of put those puzzle pieces together. And someone on these strategy calls, they're coming along and they're asking themselves that. And you ask them, say like, ultimately, like, where would you like to be in 6 months?
Yeah.
Like, gee, I haven't thought about that in my entire existence.
Exactly.
What? Like, let's unpack it for a second, right? And so as a closer, you're entrusted to represent the company who hopefully, dare I say, it's on you to make sure that they're definitely getting the results. But you're representing that company and you're the gatekeeper. And if you don't show up to that call ready to help that person transform, it might cost them because you didn't show up. And so it's a big deal. And it's not just commission this, commission that. Like the people who are willing to play the game, which is performance based and only the strong survive, because it is tough and it is overcoming limiting beliefs and it is exhausting.
Yep.
Are going to get rewarded handsomely for it. So the incentives are aligned.
Yeah.
But I think it shouldn't be understated, man. Like it's like lightning in a bottle. Like when you help someone overcome that fear and you're staying with them, you're like, I'm not giving up on you, man. Like there's been so many hundreds and hundreds
I
of
love those
calls
calls.
that I've had that are like, dude, we're not going anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
you're telling me, you trust us to deliver. You feel
Yeah.
like you're going to do the work. It's not going to put you on the street, right? You can afford it.
Yeah.
It's just nerves. We're going to stay right here.
I love those.
Unpack this, right?
Fear is my favorite.
Yeah. And I have a couple examples. Like one of my buddies, Briar, he just called me and he made $100,000 in profit last month from his business. And
Love it.
18 months ago, we did a sales call where he was investing into a $6,800 coaching program that I was the closer at.
Yeah.
And we had to break it up 1,000 times 7 because he was scared shitless, and he was working as a youth pastor making $15 an hour, and he was about to have a kid. And he's like, dude, I can't spend $7,000 on this. I'm like, look, are you going to do the things?
Yeah.
And he's like, there's got to be a guarantee. I'm like, dude, I'll write in a contract. I'll guarantee that you succeed as long as you're willing to do all the work that's required. And I actually literally went in and wrote a contract like, I will pay for this enrollment if you don't do it.
I love
He
that.
luckily pulled it off. And had I not believed in him more than he believed in himself, he might not be here where he's at currently. I'm not going to take credit, right? Like, he did the work, but I was that facilitator of change at that moment where people need someone to show up for them and breathe that life into them.
It definitely is electric, that feeling, dude. Like helping someone overcome that. It's like the best feeling ever. And it's like you'll forever have a bond with that specific person
100%.
on that moment. Like on that call, right?
I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember exactly where I was at, he was at. I'm curious, whenever you're coaching your students now, you're helping them overcome their beliefs, skills, traits, etc., so that they can better themselves. What are some of the things that you're helping them implement on the sales front that gets them to be the best closer that they can be?
Yeah. So, I mean, specifically, like, I help people transition out of in-person sales jobs, like door-to-door car sales. Like, really, like, guys that sell cars are like my people, because, like, dude, I sold cars, and like I know how it is, right? And I help them transition into high ticket. So, I mean, man, I take people through 4 different phases, right? So, it's kind of funny you brought this up, because I love like talking about this, because I'm very passionate about this. So you're right. Like, high ticket sales has become the new biz op. And I'll be honest with you, I was hesitant on even creating a program around this.
Me too.
Because there's a bunch of shammers that sell this.
Of
How many people do you know that sell this type of offer and have never even fucking done high ticket sales?
Well, I'm going to have conversations with all of them.
Yeah.
To figure out if they're legit or not.
Yeah, like they've never done it, right? So yeah, dude, like I was hesitant because, like, dude, I deeply give a fuck about actually helping people. And I also give a shit selfishly about my own reputation. Like, that shit matters a fuck ton. Like, because I think long term, So I'll just tell you this, right? Like, I launched a program 4 months ago. I took on like a test group, right, of students. And, I kind of had a hypothesis based on my journey on how I needed to teach them. And from the time I started to the time the program wrapped up, I had changed so much about it. And after actually helping people get the results, I've like really dialed it down to like a science. Like, I'm like scientific about this shit because I care so much. But yes, like, it's a 4-phase program I take people through. Where it's like, imagine this, right? Here's how I kind of explain it to people. So imagine someone's never like ran ads before, and you're like, bro, launch a campaign, CBO, 3 ad sets, dynamic creative, 84 different angles, stuff like that. You would be like lost after the first sentence or the first word that came out of my mouth, because the way humans work is like fight or flight. As soon as you start hearing stuff that's overwhelming your brain, you stop listening, right? So before I let my students jump on like live calls with me and like we start role playing and practicing, I just have them go through like an entire curriculum. It's like everything. It's like A to Z how high ticket sales works. And not only how to sell, but how the industry works too, because I don't want them to get fucked on an offer. Because like you see a lot of people like that. How many companies do you see that do this? They're like, hey, come work for us. You'll make 7 figures a year. We got, we got 7-figure earners over here. We do X amount of millions a month. And it's like, you get in and it's like how it was presented versus how it actually is like night and day, bro.
100%.
And like, I don't vibe with that. So I teach my students, like, here's what to look for in a good company versus a bad one. And here's how to protect yourself out there. Here's opportunities I'm going to give you and how to tell if it's a good one or a bad one. And then then we talk about sales the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And also, have you ever heard of like the learning cone before? It's like, the lowest level learning is like listening passively or like reading it. And then you move your way up the ladder, and towards the higher end is like actually doing the thing.
And teaching it.
Exactly. So once they learn it, like once they've passed like an exam that I give them and stuff like that, then they start jumping on live calls with me. Right. And then that's when I'm like teaching them everything that they kind of learned already. And giving them, like, putting them in the feedback loop, And then there's like the placement part, and then I support them when they ramp up and stuff like that. But
I think it's important to recognize, in the high ticket space, if you're going to go wander into it, you have to understand how to evaluate a company.
100%, dude.
And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to find yourself just like,
it's not taught. And the thing is, it's because it benefits anybody who tells you that stay stupid is a good sales tip. Is benefiting off your ignorance.
Yeah.
So if you were like, because when I sold cars, the first dealership I worked at, they said, "Hey, stay stupid. You're learning too much. You're starting to like give up gross on your deals." And then I realized they were fucking me over on my pay. So it's the same way in high ticket. Like, every company's like, I want that sales rep that's ready, that just is ready to run through a wall and do whatever I tell them to do. And it's like, if you don't give them clarity, you don't actually have the opportunity, and they're confused, like, you're never going to get that. You know what I mean? Like so many people prey on other people that are just like willing to do whatever. And like, I think that's unethical. I really do.
Yeah. And I'm super optimistic about this though, about the industry, because there's the people that you're referring to a minute ago that are kind of like the shysters or the shammers.
Yeah.
They're not going to last.
No.
Like, if you sold $300,000 cash collected and you're trying to create a coaching program, like you sold for 1 month, you made like 20 grand or 30 grand. Like, who are you teaching? Maybe you're teaching the guy who doesn't even know what this is, right? But there's definitely a diminishing return with that.
Yeah.
I don't think people actually do it out of malice. I think they do it out of being led astray by how quickly they need to become a guru, right? Like you said, you made 600 grand as a sales rep, and I made 300 or close to it, probably 250. And the takeaway is that if you're a setter, I'll give you an example. If you're a setter and you're on a good company, you can make 4, 5, 6, 8 grand a month sometimes. It's a little bit more rare, but you can do that. And you can just be a setter for 6 months. And instead of jumping the ship to becoming a teacher, if you just do that for 6 months and you do, 100,000 dials or however many, you're going to have that forever, and it'll be so ingrained into you that you can't get it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's that foundation, right? So many people want to just build this Empire State Building, but their foundation is like one brick. It's like, dude, the wind is gonna blow you over. Like,
there's a difference between like people who just parrot information versus people who are speaking from a place of like experience. And like, I'll be honest with you, on the spectrum, I lean more towards the guy who will accomplish a fuck ton and still feel insecure, because I'm like, do I really even deserve to teach people? And it took dozens of people saying, dude, you made fucking 700 grand as a 1099 high ticket closer. And finally,
how much more credibility do you?
And I'm like, oh shit, okay, you're right. But it's just like, it scares me to see the industry, like the guys that you're talking about, and like, because I don't want to be that guy. I'm just not that guy. I couldn't even pretend to be a guru, because I just can't. Like, that's just not who I am.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. This is like the dialogue that I have in my mind all day long, right? Because it's like, I've sold 10 million in high ticket sales specifically. It's like, am I qualified to coach? I don't know. But the guy who's like, he did it for 3 months and he's got a course. I'm like, okay.
Dude, exactly.
And so the temptation is to not be a guru, but also I like educating people.
I love it.
I like teaching people, and I like doing the thing. So for me, it's like, I'm optimistic because, number one, I wrote this in my Apple Notes on a flight probably 6 months ago when I was about to make the jump into managing teams and doing my own thing, and I was scared to make that leap, right?
Yeah.
I just wrote, I know for sure that at a bare minimum, I can go back and be a closer and make 25 grand a month, 30 grand a month, or take a job at a car dealership
Yeah.
and go make 30 grand a month, bar none. Like
Exactly.
that's my new floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even if what I'm doing right now just completely explodes, I'll know how to go hunt an offer, get on one, ramp up, and just beat everybody.
Sounds like me and you think a lot alike.
Right.
That was my exact mindset.
And I wrote that down. I was like, I know that my minimum is 30 grand a month. And if I blow this up, I can just go back to that. And that allowed me to kind of think about stepping up to the next thing. And now I'm in management. I'm managing a team that's doing like 400 or 500 grand a month, close to it. And, you know, thinking about scaling that, which is a completely different skill set. But I did go from setter to closer to top closer for
exactly
22 months in a row, and then manager, and then founder, CEO type thing. And so the people who are early on, I just encourage you, man, like you don't have to do the coaching, right? Like you can make great money and climb the ladder. And if you, I'm instead of being afraid though, I'm actually, now that I've had conversations with someone like you, like Tristan Steckler, Johnny, all these big guys, Tony, Temple, like a bunch of the closers guys, and everyone that's in the big dogs in the space, and some others, it's like, okay, I'm optimistic about this because I know I'm willing to do what it takes. I'm willing to endure.
Yeah.
And some of these new kids on the block, they're gonna fizzle out. You can't fake this, you know?
Dude, there's a certain confidence that comes with knowing that you will do whatever it takes to figure something out. Like I knew when I started my business, I was like, well, I know one thing about me. Like I will do whatever it takes to figure something out. So you can't really fail with that mindset.
Yeah, man.
Right?
I believe, I was just telling one of my reps this yesterday. Winning is a decision, and you just have to decide to win.
Exactly.
And then it's whether you did the things or not. And if you didn't do the things, well, that's okay. You don't win every time. No one wins 100% of the time. But it's just like, are you willing to climb this ladder and do what's required?
Exactly.
And the people who are will win.
Yeah. And you know, to your point on like the gurus and all that stuff, like the guys who sell for 1 month and then start their own thing. There's like different types of people, right? Like some people have what's called blind confidence. Like they're confident and they just send it. And not that that's a bad thing, but some people like just send it and like they're talking, they have no fucking clue what they're talking about. But because they're so convicted in what they're saying, impressionable people are like, oh, that makes sense. Like, let me go follow that guy. And then they get let off a cliff, right?
Right.
And then there's people like us who are a little bit more analytical. And that comes with its own set of challenges because sometimes you wait too long before you send it, right? But it's just knowing like, what's the happy medium, right? Like it's being self-aware, you know?
100%.
Because we're all just our own worst enemy. Because,
100%.
you know, like you said, are there people out there that have bad intentions and maybe, you know, again, I always say this, like anybody who will try to like virtue signal to you is definitely manipulating you. So if somebody ever tells you like, I don't do this for the money, they're full of shit. Because I definitely do this for money. I don't do it for free, that's for sure. But I also do it because I deeply fucking care about people, right? And you know, like there's gurus out there that send it too early and probably are leading people off a cliff, and they have good intentions, maybe, right? There are some that are, you know, the trash,
not as
that are on the Baller Busters highlight reel.
Yeah.
By the way, I was on Baller Busters a couple times.
No way.
Yeah, because like I was attached to obviously the last company I worked for, and they were on there all the time. So like, you know, I got thrown in the fire naturally.
Yeah, I'm curious if you're open to sharing. Obviously, we don't have to go into like the gritty details, but like, how do you, knowing that you have a good heart posture, think about responding or not responding or sitting with that type of thing?
That's a great question. Like handling hate. It's right. It's like, dude, I'll be honest. So like what I've learned from, I credit it to the way I grew up, the car business, and, you know, everything I've been through in like the high ticket world. Like you just build this like grit where you just like don't give a fuck. Like things just don't rattle you like they used to. Like I used to get so rattled by everything. And now like I can check my phone and, you know, dude, by the time we get off this podcast, I can check this. There are gonna be fucking straight bombs on here and be like, I'm gonna go grab a coffee. You know what I mean? Hate can't to really everybody. And like now I just don't give a fuck, to be honest with you. I mean, like I think that people that, you know, it's the same thing on like when you're on the side of like hate throwing shade on people. It's like maybe they're just doing what they think is best, which is protecting people from investing in scammers, you know? They just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure that the guy who runs that, it's like got good intentions, you know? But and there needs to be that voice, right? And that's the good thing about having a dialogue and like free speech and everything. It's like people can voice their opinion, which is great. But like,
Exactly.
yeah, man, like I don't think I have too many people that are hating on me, or at least it doesn't make it all the way to me, at least.
Yeah.
There are probably some people.
They're good at hiding it.
Yeah. But I don't give a fuck, man.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I know I go to sleep every night knowing that I'm helping people. I'll give you an example. I had a buddy, who his name is Jesse, and he's a really great friend of mine, and he always was curious about what I did, and he was like, "You're totally scamming people, dude." Like when I was working at my last coaching program where you help freelance writers build a business, our NPS scores are like, it's like 75, which basically means 75 out of 100 people rate the program 10 out of 10, and they'd recommend it to a friend. And and our refund rate was 0.2%.
That's fire.
Like there's no scam going on. People love this. It's such a 10x ROI, and I had full conviction in it, and I'll tell anybody that, and I'll tell everybody that, and I'm so proud of everybody I enrolled, even if I took their last dollar, because I knew they're going to clip that part up. But because I knew that I was helping them make a decision in their best interest.
And you said 75% net promoter score, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how many people go to college and would give it a bad net promoter score? 75% or more or less?
Much less.
Do you see what I mean? So it's like, people forget that like college was made by man too. It was made by freaking the Rockefellers, I think. It's a big part of it. It's like, and you know what Rockefeller said about people? He said something about like putting people just through a machine, just getting people to.
Well, the whole education system, like the reason we have the K through 12 set up where you leave your home at 5 years old and you are raised by your teachers, is based off of like, and I could be totally wrong about this, I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure it's based off of like a Prussian military thing that makes people just be on good behavior, or something like that. So it's like, I love the education online info space. I'd rather pay, like the guy who's the founder of the offer that I'm managing, he was actually a product manager at Google making $1 million a year. And that's exactly what we help people do, is go get a $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 job at Google. So who do you think is going to benefit more? Like the MBA that you paid $100,000 for?
Exactly.
Or our program that's actually ran by the guy?
Yeah, the only difference is the professor you're learning from only got a tiny percentage of the tuition you paid, and he never did it.
Right, exactly. And so, of course, be scrutinizing and be skeptical of who you're investing into. Don't be a complete dummy. But like, there are great coaching programs out there, and I literally this year I've probably invested maybe 30 or 40 grand into learning different skill sets and just paying down my ignorance tax. Like I'm in a program right now. It's called the Vortex Mastermind, and it's $2,000 a month, and it's ran by my old boss Dickie, who I used to be employed by, and he's a genius, and his whole team are geniuses, like our back end guys, like our C-suite guys, and I just pay them $2,000 a month so I can have access to them and ask them the questions instead of going and figuring out the thing. Like he just taught me something yesterday in 20 minutes that would have taken me 5-6 hours.
Yes, dude, I'm in a mastermind to pay $3,000 a month.
Yep.
And dude, literally like once a month I'll have a breakthrough. I'm like, that was worth the whole thing. And see, some people don't think about it that way. Like some people, you could change their life and they're like, that wasn't worth $10,000.
Yep.
And it's like, because they just don't appreciate information the same way. Like, because like, dude, everything that's in front of you 24/7 has an impression on you, right? Even just going into one room. Now, I'm not saying like, again, like I'm not saying like, hey, if you go into a shitty program, at least you got something. That's always been my mindset, but like, dude, everything that everything you immerse yourself in like has an impression on you, right? And it's either taking you closer to the person you want to be or further away.
Yep.
So like, the littlest things can make the biggest difference. One handshake, one new idea, one new concept, you know what I mean? And they stack, they compound.
Yeah, well, the good thing about that, and the other founder of the company, Nicholas Cole, he wrote an essay called How to Be a Good Student. And it was like lessons learned from mentoring 12,000 individuals. And he had a writing program called Ship 30 for 30 with Dickie. They co-founded it, where they had 10,000 plus students. And then on our high ticket program, there's probably upwards of about 2,000 people that have been through it now. So, and on the essay, he talks about how the best students don't see about the program and blaming the program. They make the program work for them.
Exactly.
Right. And like to your point, like humans human beings are they're not rational. They are rationalizing, meaning I invested $7,000 into my first mentorship and it was a complete shit show. Like I didn't learn much.
Yeah.
Like the guy was a complete shammer. And I'm not gonna say his name.
Is he still around?
No. And
Oh, imagine that.
yeah, and he but I even just investing into him knowing that he was where I wanted to be and he was a complete idiot.
Yeah.
That alone it made it worth the investment because I
Literally,
felt
bro.
as though I had
Yeah.
the permission. And I remember I used to joke about it during the time that I did it. I was still like kind of doing this buyer's remorse thing. I was like, dang, I don't know if I invested in the right mentor. But like I would make a joke to my friend that I just paid $10,000 for a bunch of motivational quotes. But some of those quotes, man, I still hang on to them and use them every single day. And so I rationalize that.
Exactly.
And I'm always looking for the handshake, like the one person that I connected with. And that's just an optimistic point of view. And I think pessimists tend to be right, but optimists tend to win.
Exactly.
And
do you want to be right or do you want to win?
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah, like I heard Hormozy say this one time. He's like, okay, so like you had all these disadvantages, you got beat as a kid, you had all this, and that's why you can't be successful. Okay, you're right. And now what?
And
now what?
You're right.
Like, what are you going to do now? You know, what are you going to do next? That's all that matters.
Exactly. And
you know?
And the people that are going to win in the high ticket space are the ones who can parse through, get with the right companies. There's still going to be problems though, right? Like none of these businesses are perfect.
Exactly.
And problems are made to be solved. That's the whole reason business exists.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage anybody who is thinking through getting into this space, like go and get behind a problem that you could really enjoy solving. Like there's so many offers nowadays. And again, like I'm so bullish on the space.
Yeah.
I think there was maybe like a dip. I think we're going way up and to the right.
I do too. You know something funny on that, to that point, that I find really fascinating when I'm like educating somebody on the space for the first time. It's like you think about how big the world is, and like most people don't understand that. Because like when you say you put 10,000 people through this career coaching program, right? That's a lot of fucking people. And there's 300, like I think there's 350 million people in the United States.
400 now.
Yeah, dude, it's like the world's big. Like, you know, people don't realize how many coaches are out there that are making serious impact, that have tons of students. Because it's like almost like when you sit down and really think about it, it's a really like hard to wrap your mind around how like really big the world is, right?
Mm-hmm. Even with sales coaches, and that's kind of why I like interviewing the sales gurus at the top and that are starting their own programs, because it's like, hey man, welcome to the club. Hopefully you're getting your students results, you know, and there's more. And it's like maybe even more now. The sales guru thing is definitely a hot topic, but even like fitness coaches, it's like, should there be more fitness coaches? I don't know, probably. You could say that fitness coaching is saturated and everybody wants to be a fitness coach, but it's like everybody's fat.
Exactly.
How about that? Everybody's fat.
Exactly.
So why is it such a problem that people are getting into fitness coaching? I say do it, double it, triple it.
Exactly. It's like, dude, you know, like I said earlier, it's like everybody's going to speak to different groups of people. Like there's a lot of high ticket sales trainers out there right now that go after the 18 to 24 year olds. And quite frankly, like that's not my audience. It's just not. My audience is 25 to 35.
Yeah.
And I realized that through working with people who I like to work with.
Yep.
Because like I'm 26, I have a house, I have a dog, I have a wife. I live like I'm like mid 40s. Like I live a very chill lifestyle. I just want to make money, have freedom, and that's it.
Yeah, the guy who's wanting to do the bachelor thing and do the, you know, go to Medellin or whatever, that guy's not going to resonate with you as much.
That's not my guy.
And that's okay. And the young guy, send him to Johnny, you know?
Exactly.
And if it's the Christian XYZ, send him to Tristan Steckler, right? Or if it's, for me, like my flavor is like conviction-based, ultra marathon, like super willpower mindset thing. Some people are going to resonate with me, you know? There's so many different flavors. And even if you teach the exact same thing, some people are just going to resonate with another person. It's like there's thousands of math teachers. Is that a problem? I don't think so.
Exactly.
You know,
as long as you're doing good business.
100%.
You know, and like when you're first starting out, it's like, bro, as long as you care about people and you get them results, that's all that matters. You know what I mean? Like, talk crap, do whatever, but like, let my students' results speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. With where you're going, so how long have you been in how long has your offer been live?
I'm gonna say about 3 months now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What have you learned so far from doing it for 3 months?
Dude, I've just been fascinated by the way people learn. You know, like my perception on education is like night and day 360 from what it was. Because I used to think naively that the way that you could really impact somebody and help them is by getting them on a Zoom call and yelling at them for an hour. And they walk away with about 2% when you do that, right? So like it's just fascinating. And like I'm working with a couple offers too, like building some sales teams. And it's the same way with that, right? It's like you probably run into this. It's like you could walk somebody through a whole hour long training, how to overcome objections, or here's the flow of the sales process. And at the end of the call, do this. I challenge you, right? You probably do it. It's like, okay, what's the sales process? You're like, I don't know. Discovery. And you're like, what's the whole sales process? I don't know. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Right?
Were you here?
Yeah. Um, but it's like our job as educators is to figure out how to help those people because
Mm-hmm.
the star performers are going to figure it the fuck out.
Yep.
There's a small group of people that are going to always blame you in the program, and you got to be okay with that too. That's another thing I learned is like, there's some people that have gone through my program that didn't make it, and then I'm like, it's on them. And like, by the way, if somebody tells me like they're like, hey, I went through the program, I don't like this, or like I don't like this part, can you fix this? Fixed, because you're rational, right? And like you're coming from a place like being constructive. But there are those people that aren't going to get results in any program. There's red flags. They've tried other programs and they're like, oh, well, I tried this, it doesn't work.
Yeah. How long is your refund policy again?
Yeah, exactly. Like stay away from that. Give people realistic expectations. Here's another thing. I used to like sell people when I first started selling, like the opportunity, right? Like it's so great. Now I'm like anti-selling. I'm like, listen, you're probably not going to be able to do this.
I'm
It's
big on
really
that.
fucking hard. Can you make 20K a month and travel the world and like live a good life and have way more freedom than you have now? 100%. Is it going to be easy? No. Are you going to get told no by a couple companies you apply to? Absolutely. But can you get results if you commit to the process? Fucking 100%.
Yeah. It's just like the business owner lens. It's like how many business owners succeed? 1 out of 10
Exactly.
for a year. And if you do 5 years, it's like none, basically.
Yeah.
And so it's like, are you willing to play the game despite those odds, though? It's like you think Elon Musk wakes up and he's like, well, my odds aren't in my favor today. Guess I'll quit. No, I act despite the odds not being in my favor. And those people are going to be the ones that actually win. And
100%. Yeah. And you know what I'll tell you, dude, this is actually the biggest takeaway I've had from starting my own program. So, man, this was like such a powerful mindset shift for me. I realized that a lot of sales trainers, okay, what they're really focused on is not necessarily giving a good roadmap for their students, just sounding cooler and more educated than the next sales trainer. And a lot of people fall in that trap. You know what I'm talking about? They're just trying to sound sharper, more sophisticated, and more advanced like the next sales trainer. Whereas the actual good ones just try to make it simple for their students to understand. Does that make sense?
mm-hmm.
Because you got people that are teaching like crazy NLP stuff, which is good, right? And that's important, and that may help a certain group of people. But most people just need a simple blueprint, right? Because the reality is like very few people are actually like experts. Most people are intermediate. Getting back to my points, like you got that 10-20% that are always going to fail, that 10-20% that are always going to win. But the majority of people you're going to have on your sales team and in your programs is that 60 to 80% that they rely on you to lead them properly, right?
Yeah, it's important, man. Like the best people, they're not doing the craziest Jedi reframes. They're just doing the basics really, really, really well without fail, right? Yeah. And it's such a good reminder, man, that the space is headed in a good direction, I think. And that is probably an unpopular belief, but I just see it. And again, I'm an optimist. I'm very optimistic. But the right people are going to find the right trainers, the right coaches are going to go into the right companies, and the people that are willing to put in the work, they will win.
100% agree.
And it's going back to the beginning. It's like expectation setting. This is hard. Don't do this if you're looking for free lunch. You're going to be toast. And also, this isn't for everybody.
100%.
right? Like sales isn't something that you just can take a piece of paper and learn, right? Like some people are way more naturally, genetically, personality born with. They've been dealt cards that will allow them to succeed in this endeavor.
I heard this. Did you agree with this? It's like the more active frontal lobe. Have you heard that?
Go ahead with it.
Like that's what makes somebody a natural salesman. Is this a more active frontal lobe? It's like
Could
it's
be.
it's the engine for communication, for verbal communication. And I like heard that. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
So I guess it is true.
So
People are
much
more inclined.
It's way like think about this: introvert, extrovert.
Exactly.
Some people are less inclined to shake hands and meet friends. Okay, so does that mean some people are way more inclined to do so? I'm the most extroverted person. Like,
pretty extroverted.
I'm the guy who strikes up a conversation in the elevator. That's like my new thing. Like, I love talking in the elevator now.
Yeah.
It's like my final battleground that I haven't conquered just yet. But I'm way more likely to shake somebody's hand and ask them their name.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm going to be good at sales. And when you think about personality, and this is what I'm studying a lot right now, like through Jordan Peterson, it's like extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and other personality types. Like we are born with that. And a lot of people think it's nurture. But there's a nature aspect to it. And so not everybody's going to make it. Like just like in the army, like in the military, like there's 10% of the entire population that literally can't be even selected into the army because their IQ isn't high enough.
Exactly.
Maybe that's not the most compassionate thing to say, but that's reality.
Exactly. It's funny you bring up like the personality types because like that's a core. That's something I teach a lot because it's like, you heard of the disc.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
It's like
more people should do the disc thing.
Exactly. And it's funny because like I'm more of an I type, right? I'm extroverted and emotional. So when I used to talk to people who are more of like the conscientious or the aggressive type, like your type A buyer, like people, if you're one of the types, you translate based on the way you act, right? So if you're greeted without excitement, you assume they don't like you, right? Does that make sense? And like it took a while for me to understand that, and I think that's like a big aha moment,
Yeah, dude, I could nerd out on this stuff all day, and I think I'm excited to also teach the folks and start doing some more of my own content and sharing my philosophies and my ideas. But for anybody willing to get into the space, where can they find you? If the car salesman is trying to break into high ticket, where do you want to send them?
Yeah, it's my Instagram. It's official Brendan Whiting, BrendanWhiting.
Let's go, man. It's been a pleasure having you. I'm sure we're going to have many more conversations. Excited to see what you build, and let's go out there and change some lives and help some reps change some lives.
Let's go.
And as long as you're doing it with the right heart posture, man, you're going to win.
Exactly.
And I'm playing the long game. So I'm excited to see you grow.
Appreciate that, man.
Dude,
You too.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
All right, man.